Hey, Brother Mike, Leif over here at High Point. I am just peachy. I just thought since I got the power back up over here, I'd give you a call and you could put in your blog that you got a VoIP from High Point. Yeah, it is. It is. We actually blew a 100 amp fuse and took out the fuse holder too. So, yeah, exactly. Off of 12 volts, no less. So, yep. I'm up here with Chris Blake, having a good old time. So, oh yeah, we got lots of visibility. We're above everything. So, yeah. Well, if you got nothing going on around 2 o'clock or before 2 o'clock, give me a holler and I'll tell you to boogie. All right.
We're sort of statutorily tied in until 2.
All right, cool. All right, bye.
I mean, I've been up here when I couldn't see. I saw an ad on the Reader or someplace about they were looking for volunteers. And I was looking for an excuse to not go to work a day or two a month.
2013, I think, was the same year that Chris started. And actually, I didn't even see the article. My wife saw it. And I grew up in Oregon. I think I told you guys on the way in. And I always wanted to be a lookout when I was in Oregon. Of course, I was too young at the time. And then when I graduated college, I left Oregon. So, okay, didn't get to be a lookout up there. And then that popped up and she says, "You read this article?" And I said, "No." She says, "Read it." Okay. I think she wanted to get rid of me. But
I guess they get you out of the house, boy.
Yeah, get me out of the house. And so I shot off an email to the guy's name that was in there. And as they say, the rest is history. So.
I don't know. I would call myself more a naturalist, I guess. I like do a bunch of volunteer stuff, leading nature hikes for kids and stuff like that. Just I'm an old fat white guy. I need to do something to justify my existence and pass something on to the world, And it's, taking a kid out and having him go, "Wow," to something that's not on a flat screen is, at least I enjoy it.
Chris, may I borrow you? I'm going to try to push the rest of that big, thick cable through.
Which cable?
The big, thick one.
The big, thick one.
The only thick one.
This one.
But it's got a fuse holder attached to it, so. Oh, shit. I need to go the other way. Hang on. All right, cool. So this is the supply line from the 12 volt batteries to the inverter. And it had two fuses on it, and one of the fuses blew. And it took out the fuse holder as well, so it needs to be repaired. The real issue is the Forest Service owns the tower. All right, so ostensibly any repair issue should be a Forest Service issue. However, Forest Service is part of the Department of Agriculture, which doesn't get a whole lot of funding from the government. And so they don't have a lot of funds to let alone buy new equipment or pay for their employees. So they're just happy to let us take care of things up here.
It gets done a lot faster that way. So now all you got to do is fix the hole in the wall before it rains again.
Yeah. So I coordinate the opening of the tower prior to the fire season, 'cause we shutter all the windows so nobody will come up and take pot shots and shoot out the glass. We take all the electronics, all the valuable stuff out of the tower, including the Osborne. And that's
And the
on our
part that he does that makes all of the rest of our lives much easier
So-
is he does all the politicking and administration and dealing with the
I do
checking the I's and T's and
I do
J's.
the
and-
administrative stuff, yes, and I keep the tower stats. May through August, we had 9 lightning strikes reported from here. We had 22 smokes reported from here. And available days to be staffed were 119, and we staffed 118 of them, so 99%. I mean, I think there were well over 2,000 lookout towers across the United States at one point. And probably they were all manned at one point at the same time. So you gotta be able to be on your own. You had to be pretty self-confident, I think.
Yeah.
Some of us are maybe even arrogant, I don't know.
We try to play it down.
And when we're looking for smoke, what we're really looking for is something that shouldn't be there.
Cleveland Patrol 33 service.
You know, and that's how you spot a smoke. Is that
He says, looking at the cloud that's there. It wasn't there last time.
I just saw the tail end of that cloud when I looked out there.
I've been watching it on it. You see that like end of
know,
that piece
that's-
right there? If you just catch that out of your corner of an eye, if it wasn't there a few minutes ago and now it is, and you're like, okay, I need to understand what that is.
So let's pretend there's a smoke over where the shiny roof is over there. So what I'm going to do, after I fix my crosshair here, is I'm going to spin this around and line up that roof, looking through this slot with the crosshair. I got that lined up. Now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to read, my bearing's going to be 147 degrees. Now I'm going to try to figure out where it is. So I know that it's past the intersection of 76 and Highway 76 and Highway 79. So based on that, I'm going to place that little mark right there. And that is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 and a half miles. So I'll put 14.5. Then I will come down here and I will grab my sheet, my smoke report sheet, and I would actually start filling that in. I'd put 147 degrees, 14 and a half miles. Close to, I would say that it is southeast of the intersection of Highway 76 and 79. And then I'm going to describe what I'm seeing. It's small in volume, thin in type, white in color. I cannot see the base. In other words, I can't see the flame. Well, I got all that data. Now I'm going to pick up the radio and I'm going to call it in. I'm going to say, Cleveland, High Point, smoke report, forest net tone 5. They're going to acknowledge. I'm going to say smoke is 147 degrees, 14 and a half miles, southeast of the intersection of Highway 76 and 79. It is small in volume, thin in type, white in color. I cannot see the base of the smoke. And they're going to dispatch based on that. First time I was released as a newbie, and I was in the tower by myself and called in the smoke. It was actually over kind of off of Angel Mountain over there. I was totally unprepared for dispatch's response. I mean, based on just my radio call, they dispatched 6 units, launched aircraft for Momona. I thought, ooh, I hope it's really a smoke. Yeah.
So if you look down, that's actually a PTZ.
And that's position, tilt, zoom. We can't control it, but Cal Fire and Cleveland can control it.
And if you go over to the other corner around there, there's 2 more and another one. So there's 2 more cameras and another PTZ. So this is actually now a hub on the HP Ren system.
I don't really know this for a fact, but it seems to make a lot of sense. There's, you know, in the late 70s, early 80s, everybody wanted to go to the satellites to spot smokes. And actually, what satellites were really looking for was the flames, not the smoke. And the problem with that is, for a satellite that's a couple hundred miles up, flames got to be pretty big for it to see it. So. I think that the maturity of the AI is a ways off for this application.
Well, for any application. I mean, you've seen the AI system that's put together here, right? Somebody's got to train it. There's still things that I can see with my real eyes that the AI is not going to either notice or categorize correctly.
Well, and for example, if you look out this window here, and way out on the upward edge of the hill out there, it looks like dirt that's kind of spread out. But if you're just glancing around, your first thought is that's a smoke.
Especially when the light changes a little bit and it's not quite as red. I saw smoke out there, so the one with the face one next to it, the one in the background, sort of red, used to have a lookout on it.
When Red Mountain was in service, we had a Mears radio connection with them, and so we could communicate with them. And if we saw smoke out here, we would get on the radio and call Red Mountain and find out if they could see the same smoke. If they could see the same smoke, then we can triangulate. This is Red Mountain. This is High Point. So if Red saw something over here and we saw it there, then that's where it is. So you get a real good distance if you use the triangulation. But Red Mountain burned down in the Fairview fire last November. It got caught up in it. The Forest Service up there did a valiant effort to try to save it, but it was just too intense right there. So. We had new recruits last year, and we had 19, and this past year we had 18, which is about a normal number. I think we're going to continue to get, the 15 to 20 new ones each year. Yeah, there's a lot younger folks, which we need, in actually in the last two classes, and especially in this last one. So I think we're going to continue it, and probably past my reign, if you will. I don't feel old, but I am getting old.
Yeah.
Some days I feel older than other days. So we ought to give these guys, since they're here.
Oh, that's right, a squirrel card.
And they're not youngsters, but they still may get a kick out of it. So we have these cards that are called squirrel cards, and it says this certifies that whoever this is climbed the High Point Lookout Tower guarding the Cleveland National Forest against fire, and is therefore recognized as a member of the Ancient and Honorable Order of Squirrels. Last year, 2 ladies hiked up, and I had some in my pocket, and I went down to talk to them, and I just happened to pull them out and say, "You guys be interested in a squirrel card?" Oh yeah. And so I gave them squirrel cards, and they posted on a hiker blog, and like 2 weeks later I was up here, and there was a group of 7 women hiked up.
All wanted squirrel cards.
All wanted squirrel cards. Because I'd given out a couple. Boy, it just tickled me, man. It just tickled me.
We did the Smokey the Bear thing. And if you notice in the drive up here, you look at all the underbrush and the trees. In a forest in its native state, or the way it was managed by the native people who lived here, that stuff would burn every 3 or 4 years. So that you'd get a small fire and it wouldn't get into the crown. Now it does. There's stuff like that you can do, but it's not going to stop the fact that it's hotter and drier. And even though we got a lot of rain here, the fact that it's hotter means that it dries out faster. You get higher grass, it's really nice and green for a while, and then all of a sudden it's taller and ready to burn. And there's a lot of awareness and stuff like that. It's just, we need to start thinking about that stuff and preparing for it, because it's not going to stop. You know, this has been coming for years, and everybody's like, yeah, we can't really afford to do anything about it. Well, now it's done, right? So I don't know. There's the FFLA, which is pretty much nationwide. And, I mean, there's a whole group of people who think it's a worthwhile thing trying to preserve the functionality and the history of it. I mean, there are lookouts all over the U.S. that are now kind of run like, I don't want to say Airbnb, but kind of like you can rent it for the weekend sort of thing. Mm-hmm. It's not so much you're up there looking for smoke as you can go hang out there and stare at the view, which is a legitimate use too. I mean, getting people to look up here and appreciate something slightly different about the world than what they normally see is a good thing. I mean, I think as people tend to be more and more insulated and wrapped up in what's immediately around them, that anything that gets people to expand their worldview is a good thing. I mean, it's like the women he was talking about with the squirrel card. It's like, you talk to them for a while and it's like, wow, you mean I can do this? And there's more interest in it, I guess, as people become, oh, I can do that. I mean, I would like to see them open more, but the money's got to come from someplace, and that's the tough part.